The glass doors of Nexus Corporation swung open as Alexander Chen stepped out into the December rain, his $1,000 shoes clicking against the marble steps of the 60-story building that bore his name. He had built an empire from nothing, transformed himself from an immigrant's son into one of the most powerful tech moguls in the world. But tonight, as he walked toward his waiting limousine, something felt hollow. Perhaps it was the empty penthouse waiting for him. Or perhaps it was the weight of a grief he had carried for 7 years, a wound that no amount of success could heal. He was about to slide into the back seat when he heard it, a voice that shattered through the rain like lightning through a dark sky, trembling yet unmistakable, calling out words that stopped his heart mid-beat. "Dad, it's me! I survived." Alexander froze, his hand gripping the car door, his entire body turning rigid as if the world had suddenly stopped spinning. The voice came from the shadows near the building's side entrance, where a figure emerged into the pale glow of the streetlights. It was a young man, perhaps 17 or 18, dressed in layers of torn clothing that hung from his thin frame like rags on a scarecrow. His hair was matted and dirty, his face gaunt and marked with the unmistakable signs of life on the streets, but his eyes, those eyes were the color of midnight. Exactly like the eyes Alexander saw every morning in the mirror, exactly like the eyes of the son he had lost 7 years ago. If you believe in the power of second chances, in the possibility that miracles can still happen even in our darkest moments, please hit that like button, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to this channel. Sometimes the stories that seem impossible are the ones that need to be told the most. The boy took a hesitant step forward, his legs trembling as if they might give out beneath him at any moment. Alexander felt his briefcase slip from his fingers, heard. It hit the wet pavement with a dull thud, but he couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stare at this apparition that had emerged from the rain like a ghost made flesh. 7 years ago, his son Daniel had been in the car with his mother when it went off the bridge during that terrible storm. They had recovered his wife's body 3 days later, but Daniel's was never found. The authorities had told him that the current must have carried the boy's body out to sea, that he needed to accept what had happened and move on. But Alexander had never fully believed it, had never been able to let go of that tiny, irrational hope that somehow, impossibly, his son might still be alive. The young man spoke again, his voice cracking with emotion and exhaustion. "I know you probably think I'm crazy, that I'm just some homeless kid trying to scam you, but I remember things, Dad. I remember the bedtime stories you used to tell me about the dragon who learned to code, about how you always said that technology could change the world if we used it with kindness. I remember Mom's laugh, how it sounded like wind chimes, and I remember the bracelet you gave me for my 10th birthday, the one with our family crest engraved on it." He lifted his wrist, pushing back the dirty sleeve to reveal a tarnished silver bracelet that caught the light, a bracelet that Alexander recognized instantly because he had it custom-made from a jeweler in Florence, a one-of-a-kind piece that couldn't be replicated. Alexander's legs finally moved, carrying him forward through the rain as if pulled by an invisible force. His security team moved to intercept, but he waved them back with a sharp gesture, his eyes never leaving the boy's face. Up close, he could see the details that the distance had hidden, the small scar above the left eyebrow from when Daniel had fallen off his bike at age 8, the slight crookedness of his nose from when he had broken it playing soccer, the distinctive birthmark on his neck, shaped like a tiny star. These were things that couldn't be faked, details that no con artist could have known, and as Alexander looked into those midnight eyes, he saw not just physical resemblance but recognition, the kind of deep, soul-level knowing that exists between parent and child. The boy began to speak, his words tumbling out in a desperate rush as if he feared Alexander might vanish at any moment. "After the accident, I woke up on a riverbank miles downstream. I didn't remember who I was, Didn't remember anything except feelings, emotions without context. A homeless man found me, took care of me for a while, but he died 2 years ago, and I've been on my own since then. It wasn't until 6 months ago that the memories started coming back. Just fragments at first, like pieces of a shattered mirror, but then more and more until I remembered everything, remembered you, remembered who I was supposed to be. I've been trying to find you, trying to work up the courage to approach you, because I knew how insane it would sound, knew that you might not believe me. Alexander reached out with shaking hands and grasped the boy's shoulders, feeling the sharp bones beneath the layers of clothing, feeling the reality of solid flesh and blood beneath his fingers. Tears were streaming down his face now, mixing with the rain, and he didn't care who saw, didn't care about the cameras that might be recording this moment, didn't care about anything except the impossible miracle standing before him. He pulled Daniel into his arms, holding him with a fierce desperation, feeling the boy's body shake with sobs against his chest. For 7 years, Alexander had been living in a tomb of his own success, building higher and higher towers of achievement to distract himself from the emptiness inside, and now, in this single moment, everything had changed. The weeks that followed were a blur of medical examinations, DNA tests that confirmed what Alexander's heart already knew, and careful reintegration into a world that Daniel had been absent from for 7 years. The doctors marveled at his survival, at how a 10-year-old boy had managed to endure such trauma and live through years on the streets. But Alexander wasn't surprised. Daniel had always been strong, had always possessed a resilience that belied his gentle nature. What broke Alexander's heart was learning about the hardships his son had endured, the cold nights sleeping in doorways, the hunger, the fear, the loneliness of being lost in the world without identity or anchor. Daniel had survived by helping other homeless people, by using his intelligence and resourcefulness to find food and shelter, by holding on to a fundamental goodness that the streets had not been able to destroy. As Alexander sat with his son in their home, watching Daniel slowly relax into the safety and comfort that had been stolen from him for so long, he felt something shift deep within himself. He had spent 7 years building an empire, measuring his worth in billions and market shares, but now he understood that all of it meant nothing compared to this, to having his son back, to being given a second chance at the relationship he thought he had lost forever. Daniel spoke softly about his experiences, about the people he had met on the streets, the forgotten and invisible ones who society had abandoned, and Alexander listened with growing awareness of how much he had been blind to in his pursuit of success. If this story has touched your heart, if you believe in the power of love to overcome even the most impossible circumstances, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Your engagement helps stories like this reach people who need hope. Before we reach the end, please comment below with a heart emoji if you believe that families can be restored, that miracles can still happen in our modern world. Together, father and son began a new chapter, one that transformed not just their personal lives, but the entire direction of Alexander's work. Nexus Corporation launched initiatives to help homeless youth, to provide support and resources for those who had fallen through society's cracks, to use technology and wealth not just to build bigger towers, but to lift people up from the streets. Daniel became the heart of these programs, using his own experiences to guide their mission, to ensure that no other child would have to endure what he had endured alone. And every night before they went to their separate rooms in the penthouse that no longer felt empty, Alexander would hug his son and whisper words of gratitude into the darkness, thankful for the rain-soaked evening when a voice from the shadows had spoken the impossible words that changed everything. "Dad, it's me. I survived." In the end, it wasn't Alexander's billions that had brought meaning to his life. It was love, the kind that endures through tragedy and time, the kind that can recognize a lost child in the rain and pull him back from the edge of the world into the warmth of home, where he had always belonged.